Hey guys, this is Toastmonster, and today I'm going to be going through a battleground and just going through my general thoughts on the Mr. Pandaria patch so far, and what I'm thinking of Mr. Pandaria so far. Now, the first thing I'm going to talk about is Affliction Warlock damage, and to be honest I'm quite pleased with this at the moment. The dots still do quite a lot on their own, and along with the ability Malefic Grasp, which you'll see on screen now, it really does increase the single target damage of Warlocks by a huge amount, especially when you have Haunt on the target at the same time. I quite like the change to Haunt as well, as Haunt no longer has a cooldown, but instead consumes Soul Shards now, and your Nightfall procs, instead of giving Shadow Bolts as they used to, they now give Soul Shards instead. And I really think this means you need to think about when you want to use your Haunt efficiently, and you don't really want to just waste it because you have a very finite amount of them, and it really is going to be a big gap in Warlocks who aren't experienced in their class, and top Warlocks who really know when to put out that single target burst. However, due to Malefic Grasp, this does mean that your single target isn't completely useless all the time, and it just means you aren't as reliant on Haunt, but along with when you have Haunt and Malefic Grasp up, the damage really is crazy, as you can see on that Paladin right now. I mean, there were 3 other people there, but he dropped incredibly quickly. I'm really liking the Warlock talent Blood Fear as well, which puts your fear on a 10-second cooldown but makes it instant. And to be honest, as fun as it really is overpowered and does need a nerf. It's too strong. Healers just can't keep up with it. I mean, 1 instant fear every 10 seconds, along if you spec with Halaterra, it's just crazy amounts of instant CC, and you can't really predict when it's coming, just because it still has the 30-yard range. Another change I'm really happy about with the Warlocks is they've removed Curse of Tongues and removed Curse of Weakness, but they've instead combined them together to create one ability, Curse of Enfeeblement, and this it frees up binds because it does both effects, but obviously a Warlock's not going to be too worried about having their physical damage reduced in the same way that a Warrior is not going to worry about their cast time being increased. Unfortunately, changes like this kind of are overshadowed by talents like Blood Fear, because you don't really see the changes in the positive direction as much as you'll see the ones in the negative direction, such as increasing the amount of CC that's instant cast and unpreventable. I mean, you can't even line of sight a Blood Fear because how can you can't predict when it's coming, and you only need to be in line of sight for, you know, sort of 1 frame, and if a Warlock pressed the ability then, it's going to be instantly feared, which I'm not really too pleased about, but hopefully that'll get nerfed come Mr. Pandaria, and instead we'll be seeing Unbound Will, which is the trinket that you have to use that costs 20% of your maximum health, and hopefully we'll see that being used a lot more. And to be honest, even that might be nerfed because it's only on a 1-minute cooldown, and it's a bit too strong really. I mean, Warlocks having the survivability they do already, they have a lot of on-use abilities that increase survivability by huge amounts, and an extra trinket really does just kind of nullify everything. Overall though, I really am enjoying the patch, and I think there's a lot of change in this positive direction. I mean, no class is particularly weak at the moment. I mean, some are obviously going to be too strong, I mean that always happens, but you know, we're not seeing Season 11 Warriors again where they're practically unviable outside of KFC. So, you know, I think that's a great change for the game. Some stuff's obviously a bit silly, such as Resto Druid's healing. I mean, if you tried to kill a Resto Druid this patch, it just doesn't happen, really. Another thing I'm having a lot of fun with this patch is Destruction instead of Affliction, and to be honest, I much prefer the playstyle of Affliction. I enjoy it a lot more, but I actually posted a video on my YouTube channel, and it was just crazy damage that Affliction does. I mean, there was a person in Twin Peaks actually who I just crit for 177k, which is obviously never a balanced thing, but you know, it's a lot of fun at the moment, and I'm sure it'll balance out at level 90. I mean, I don't expect to crit someone for even 190k there, because that's going to be what's half of someone's health. Another good change I think Blizzard have made to this game is that hunters no longer have a minimum range, which means they don't really have a dead zone, which really hurt hunters on maps like Dalaran, and where teams would just sit behind the boxes all game and hunters would have to jump off if they wanted to actually do any damage. And that was just it was a bit unfair. It was like Ring of Valor for teams where they just can't line of sight CC, except a hunter is always line of sighted there, or always in a really bad position, so I think that's a good change. The Scythe you see this priest using on screen at the moment though is very irritating. What it does is it's on a 45-second cooldown, and priests can choose where they place it, and it just casts Psychic Scream on random people, and it's incredibly annoying because even if you get feared, it doesn't make you immune to being targeted again. So let's say you trinket the fear, it could just immediately fear your trinket, and it doesn't even replace the priest fear ability. They keep Psychic Scream on top of that, so it can be placed at range. So if you're having trouble getting a fear as a disc priest, you can just place that next to the person you're trying to fear or near them, and just hope it gets lucky and fears them, which it usually will. I think abilities like that are a good concept and they're fun in Battlegrounds, but I don't really think stuff like that has a place in PvP, because it's just really mindless. I mean, you just put that down and you can effectively fear their entire team, and it can force trinkets, and it's just incredibly random, and it doesn't even need to put the priest in too bad a position for it, such as their Psychic Scream where they have to run across the map to get it. It's not going to be too great because it's going to be really obvious that it's coming, but it's just an instant cast ability that you place, and it has a green circle, a bit like a Master Spell or, you know, Rain of Fire. The good thing about this patch, though, is like this Druid's glyph here, for instance, the glyph of travel form that makes it a stag. It's just aesthetical changes that don't actually affect the game balance that much, but they just make it a little bit more fun. I mean, I know warriors have glyphs that make it so when they're enraged they just set on fire and things like that, which I guess it's quite visual heavy, and it's going to be quite difficult for and daunting for new players to try and get into PvP, but stuff like that, it doesn't really hurt anyone too much, and it's just a bit of fun. A change I don't really like too much on Warlocks, you no longer have Soulburn Hellstone, which with the amount of survivability abilities Warlocks already have, I guess is acceptable, and you know, I'll get over that loss. But if you Soulburn Soul Swap, it immediately places all 3 dots, which is Unstable Affliction, Corruption, and I think it's just called Agony now rather than Bane of Agony, on the target. And I don't really think that's too good for the game, because it just means Warlocks need to cast even less. I mean, with Fell Flame, which was, you know, a fairly good ability, it keeps your Unstable Affliction up without having to recast it loads. It just meant you didn't need to cast as much, which was good. But now, in theory, with this glyph, you could never actually cast a spell. You could just Soulburn Soul Swap at the start, and once you've done that, you don't ever really need to cast again. You could keep your way up forever until your next Soul Swap's up. And I just really think changes like that aren't good for the game, because it creates a lot of unstoppable pressure, and along with the Dispel change for healers, which makes it so Dispel removes everything, but puts them on an 8-second cooldown, I don't really think it's going to be too good, because, you know, if a healer uses their Dispel with getting that UA off, then they're not going to be able to remove your instant fear. I think it's going to be too strong. I think the Dispel change, it's good and bad. I mean, it removes all RNG in Dispel, but for instance, if a Mage or a Warlock fears or polymorphs one of your teammates and you Dispel them, if they just recast it immediately, they have to sit the half CC, and there's no way to get out of it, and I think that might be a bit too strong. So I think we may see a change in that. But then again, I may be wrong. I mean, at level 90 it might just be different. Overall, though, I do think Mr. Pandaria is a huge step in the right direction for PvP. I mean, PvP power alone, which increases your damage dealt against players, is a great change. I mean, it just eliminates PvE gear from Arena completely, really. I mean, that was always a change that was needed. There's always been the issue, especially as the expansions go on, where PvE gear gets stronger and you get really strong trinkets. I mean, Season 8 saw, I think it was Bauble, and that was the on-use, which would heal your team for about 8k, which could be anywhere up to 30% of your team's health, and all 3 people could wear that, and it just made teams unkillable, and such Deathbring as well. And then this expansion you had Vile and Cunning and Cruel, which just made too much of a difference. So that stat introduction is already a proof that, you know, it's a great change for the game, and Blizzard really are listening to what people want. Something I do think is a bit too strong in this patch are Frost Mages with the ability Frost Bomb. If they pop that and then use Deep Freeze, the burst into a Deep Freeze is crazy. I mean, I was wargaming with a few friends, which unfortunately I wasn't able to record, but we were playing Mage Lock Druid with me as Destro, and my Mage would just call that he's going to Deep Summon and do a lot of damage, and I'd just put a Chaos Bolt into the Deep, and we'd get a kill pretty much every time, or force a bubble, or someone would have to trinket the Deep instantly, or force every cooldown from their team, and it's just a bit too crazy. I think caster cleaves such as MLD, they're going to really be coming back in the expansion, and the next expansion. I mean, they've always been quite good, but this season, obviously Resto Druids weren't great, but with a lot of the changes Resto Druids have and how strong they are as healers now as opposed to their Season 11 state, and they even have more mobility now, and I really think they're going to be making a comeback, and I think they're going to replace Resto Shamans for them, at least for the first patch. That's going to be about it for my thoughts on Mr. Pandaria and patch 5.0 so far. If you have any questions or feedback or want to let me know about your opinion, then just leave it in the comments or post on the forums where I check semi-regularly. Thanks for watching.